Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel, and today we are doing a battle of the flight controls. I am getting asked more and more frequently, what HOTAS or controls or yoke or flight stick or rudder pedals do I recommend, and today I'm going to try to iron that out for you, so stick around. If you are interested in acquiring any of my Overkill's tutorial guides for Microsoft Flight Simulator, or simply interested in supporting the channel, please consider joining us on Patreon. Patreon subscribers level tier 2 and above have access to all of my guides, as well as any future releases that come down the road. Patreon link can be found in the description below.
Overkill simulations, watch us as we fly. Overkill simulations, a thrill will never die.
Alright, Sim Pilots, so again today we are doing a battle of the flight controls. Now, I want to make a couple disclaimers right out of the gate. Every single product that I'm going to be showcasing or talking about, not really showcasing, but talking about here today, I have personally used and have had in this office at one time or another, if not currently. For example, the Thrustmaster Warthog that's up on the screen right now is on my motion pit that is right next to you guys at the moment. So that's the first thing. Second, in no way, shape, or form do I mean to put any developers down. If I say anything negative, it is just because I want to give you guys my true, honest, unbiased opinion and what I feel that I would do in your case if it was my money. Thirdly, that brings me to the last point. I am in no way trying to tell any of you what to do with your money. How you spend and use your money is up to you. I am simply giving you my experiences as someone who has operated every single one of the pieces of devices that we're going to be going over today. We're going to be talking about things like features, ease of use, software, compatibility, any issues that I have found in using the products, availability, as well as just the overall enjoyment of using the product, and things like customization. So I'm going to do my best to break those down for each and every product. I recommend watching this to the video to the end if you are in the market for anything like a yoke, a HOTAS. We're even going to talk about the collectives, although I'm not going to show them today, but we will discuss them briefly, as well as different throttle options and yokes. If I already said yokes, I can't remember. So let's go ahead and get started with the old king of the skies. Another thing I want to touch on real quick, you guys, is if you are, what's best for you, right? A HOTAS is a phenomenal solution to all around. If you are limited on space, you're limited on money, you're really interested in flight simulation, and you even think for a second, for a moment, that you may want to expand outside of general aviation or anything that uses a yoke, I recommend a HOTAS. Even if right now, for example, you have no interest in flying a helicopter, you have no interest in flying a fighter, you have no interest in flying DCS World, you're just into general aviation, you only want to fly Cessnas, Comanches, etc., I still, if even for a moment you think that later on, maybe in the next few months, you might watch a YouTube video, or you might get this little inkling like, maybe I do want to try a helicopter. Get a HOTAS. Do a HOTAS over a yoke. I have seen so many live streamers recently that are flying helicopters with yokes, and they do it, they nail it, or flying an F-16 with a yoke, and they do it, they have fun with it, they have a good time, but they all say the same thing, and this is primarily on TikTok. They all say the same thing. Yeah, I wish I got a HOTAS. I wish I had a HOTAS. I can't stress it enough. A HOTAS is the best starting point if you even think for a moment that you may want to expand outside of general aviation. So for that reason, we are going to begin with the HOTAS market and what I think are the best options for HOTAS, and then we will move on to yokes. All right, guys, so the first one that we're going to be starting out with is here, the Thrustmaster Warthog. For the longest time, the Thrustmaster Warthog was the king of the skies, in my opinion, for flight simulation. Everybody knew the Warthog. The Warthog is definitely a trusty HOTAS. It is something that has definitely lasted me a long time, but did not come without its problems. I don't know how much of an issue this is anymore, as I bought my HOTAS Warthog probably coming up on 6 or 7 years ago now, if not a bit longer. But one of the biggest things that I do have a problem with is it uses a spring tension, very large, probably 5-inch, 4-inch spring. And then it sits inside of a plastic gimbal, and that plastic gimbal and spring both cause problems. The thing that you want to think about when it comes to the Thrustmaster Warthog is, yes, it does also come with different tension springs. However, they just never quite get the right feel, I'll be honest. The best thing that you can do if you are interested in the Thrustmaster Warthog is get an extension. So plan on shelling that extra money out right there, and that extra extension can be anywhere from $40 to $80 depending on where you get it from, if not a bit more sometimes. I recommend a minimum of 8 centimeters, and what this does is brings the leverage point up high enough to where you can get a finite movement out of the stick. Now here's the other caveat to that. Unfortunately, because it uses a plastic knuckle and joint or knuckle and ball gimbal, it doesn't have the same smooth action that we see with a lot of the new mechanical bases. Even with their new, I believe it was the AV8 base, it was not what I was hoping to see. It still had a plastic knuckle in it, and it still was unfortunately not up to par with its competitors. We're going to get into the competitors in just a minute, but I'm going to tell you right now the problem with Thrustmaster, and unfortunately why I actually do not recommend the Warthog any longer, is because it is so overpriced in comparison to what you can get from the competition that is of far, far superior quality and feature list, and we're going to get into those in just a moment. So the Thrustmaster Warthog, the nice thing about it is almost always readily available. Once you get it to where it is working well, then it works. Now, I have not heard of anyone recently having these problems anymore, but one of the issues with that gimbal we were talking about earlier was that it used to always have flash or imperfect molding that would cause stiction. You would go to move the stick and it would stick. Okay, and so what you would end up having to do is take the entire gimbal apart, usually sand it down, and then re-grease it. Bringing us to the next point. Often with the Thrustmaster Warthog, they use the silicone grease that would unfortunately break down rather quickly and then cause you to re-grease it. Now, the one thing that I ended up using on mine was wheel bearing grease for automotive. So automotive wheel bearing grease has a very high breakdown temperature, so it lasts a very long time. Again, I did mine probably, the last time I did that was 5 years ago, if not longer, and I haven't had to do it since. Now, the other caveat to that is my Warthog has seen very limited use in the last 2 years due to the success of the channel, thanks to all of you, which again, I love you guys and I appreciate that. Just want to toss that out there. So that is my thoughts on the Thrustmaster Warthog at this time, given the available options and its competition. I unfortunately do not recommend the Thrustmaster Warthog due to its price point, and we're going to talk about someone who can compete with it in a very strict way in just a moment. That now brings us over to WinWing as their primary competition, in my point, as a similar price point and similar capability and actually a better feature set all around. WinWing, as you guys can see, you can get it on Amazon here as well as their website for $482, which already brings it almost $60 below what you would see with the Thrustmaster Warthog. Now let's talk about the major differences. Major differences come in the form of the flight stick. The flight stick base, to be specific. There, again, we had talked about Thrustmaster using that plastic ball and knuckle system for the gimbal. And then on the WinWing side, we have the true mechanical linkage where you have a mechanical axis for both the X and Y axis that are also adjustable. You can buy a spring and cam set if you wish to increase tension, remove or set detents, and I will tell you the default is 0 detents. I actually have this one sitting on a shelf right behind you guys. Actually, no. It is right here. So that is the stick, and here's that is the throttle. Here's the stick. And I just got done doing a review of it. I used it for about 30 days straight, and it is fantastic. The only thing that I disliked about the WinWing set is that it uses suction cups to mount it or keep it onto your smooth surface, indicating you have to have a smooth surface. However, there are plenty of ways around that. You can buy rubber feet that go underneath it that have that sticky texture to it, or like someone else pointed out in one of the comments, if you are keeping it somewhere permanently, you can use double-sided Velcro or something like that. So there are always ways around that, or if you are mounting it permanently somewhere, there are screw holes or mounting points where you could just mount it and don't have to worry about it. So that is easily mitigated. The only other thing that I don't like about the flight stick is it is naturally very, very loose. Okay, it does not require the spring and cam set that is in it by default is very, very free. Now, with that being said, the precision is on point. There's no need for an extension. There's no need for changing out springs if you like that smooth action. And it does not, that very light action is simply just not what I'm used to. I'm used to my Virpil CM3 base, which we'll get into here in just a minute, where it has a very stiff, I have it set very stiff, but with, again, with 0 detent. So that's just coming from something completely different. This is, in my opinion, for a starter kit, the best bang for the buck. WinWing has really nailed it out of the park with this one. The other thing that talk about the HOTAS, both of them, Thrustmaster Warthog and the WinWing Orion 2, is the switches on the throttle are toggle switches. They are not momentary. Some people like it. I prefer toggle. Some people prefer the momentary. Give you guys real quick a benefit to each one. Obviously, toggle switches, they're, if you're a guy, you know, and maybe even some females, you get it too. There's just something about click that just makes you feel good. You know what I mean? But momentary switches have the advantage of, like, for example, if you were doing an air start, if you were starting your aircraft, whether it be DCS World, Space Simulation, Microsoft Flight Simulator, XPlane, doesn't matter. If you are starting your aircraft in the air, the nice thing about momentary switches is you don't have to worry about your switches matching what the configuration is in the aircraft. It's just already there. So that does alleviate that, as some simulators, for example, DCS World has the ability to synchronize with your controls the moment you launch. So for example, if your master battery switch is bound to your HOTAS and it's in the off position, you do a hot start. When you launch in the sim will synchronize with your throttle or your HOTAS and will go, oh, hey, the battery's off while you're at 10,000 feet. That could be a bad thing, right? So that is a pro and a con versus the two. But that is something to be considerate of, is that both on the Warthog and the Orion 2, they are toggle switches, which I really enjoy. Going to the Orion 2, obviously, or also the HOTAS itself, the throttle and the base have far more buttons, far more switches, far more knobs, far more configuration options for you. Whether it be just talking about on the grip, on the actual throttle itself, far more hats, far more buttons, far more mapping options. Also has the finger lifts that are much easier to use than the lift detent. Remember, the lift detent on the Warthog is a model of the A10C Warthog. So you actually do have to lift it out of mill power to go into its maximum engine performance. Obviously, the A10 doesn't have afterburners, which is why I say it like that. So the Orion 2 has finger lift option, but again, something that we used to do on the Warthog, just to touch on that for a second, is we would take the detents out, file it down a little bit, just enough where you could turn it into a push-through detent, where you come to the detent, you'd feel it, you could stop, and then give it that extra shove, and you'd go up and over the gate. So there are options and ways around that as well, but again, at the price point, the Warthog being more expensive, you guys decide for yourselves. But in my opinion, the WinWing Orion 2 is the best bang for the buck of everything I'm about to talk about if you are starting out with a HOTAS. Now, this next company needs no name or no recognition. You guys, I guarantee, have heard it, especially on this channel, but they are an incredible step up into quality. However, they are also an incredible step up into price. And that is Virpil. Virpil, in my opinion, currently, out of everything that I have used, including WinWing, which I'm very blown away by and very appreciative of, it's an amazing product, but Virpil still holds the crown, in my personal opinion. Now, here's the catch with Virpil. The catch with Virpil is very often you could find them out of stock, and you could find yourself waiting anywhere from 30 to sometimes 90 days to receive your equipment. However, I'm going to emphasize that if you are willing to spend the money that Virpil asks for, you are getting an extremely high quality product. Everything is full metal construction. Your cams and springs, for like example, WinWing, you have to purchase the cam and spring set separately. Virpil, it comes with them. Okay, now the set that you guys are seeing right here on the screen, this is their Cadet lineup, a lineup that they just released in this past July or August. And that is sort of their entry level configuration into flight simulation. For the longest time, they have been what I would consider intermediate, not necessarily their Pro Series, which they are also getting ready to launch soon. But this is now their entry level. And we're going to talk about the next step up, which I have here in just a minute. So you guys can see here, it's obviously very limited. Again, here is the throttle from the Cadet series. I have used everything that I am showing you guys here on the screen. Here's the throttle. I have the stick already put away, but it is something that I have used it. I have seen it. I know how it works and operates. The quality still very much so on par, still above its competitors. Now, with the kicker to the Cadet, the one thing that I will shoot down is the throttle. It is extremely high quality. Again, the action that it has is smooth as glass. Tons of mapping options on the throttle, but missing all the buttons that are normally down on the base for me is a downfall. And I just don't feel that it is cost effective to get the Cadet throttle when you have something like the CM3 that has all the buttons and mappings, and that is currently on the cockpit right now. So with that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at the CM3 and the more expensive version from Virpil. Okay, now it dawned on me on that last one, guys, that you guys could not see the price. The Cadet set started at $679 US. You can see this one is a step up again from that. Now, if you go with the CM3 base like I have, it's going to be a bit higher. You're probably going to be looking at closer to $1,000 out the door. Now, the nice thing about Virpil and WinWing is you have multiple grip options. You have multiple throttle options. So here, for example, is just, whoa, if I don't throw things. Here's another example of a grip. This is an F14 replica that came from Virpil. I have the Mongoose 2 that's currently on the base right now. The other thing that I really enjoy about their products is they are very compatible with other developers. So for example, on my CM3 base from Virpil, I can take the Thrustmaster Warthog, just the stick, just the grip, and put it on there, and it works perfectly flawless. So that is another advantage to some of these developers. WinWing, I believe, is very similar, although there could be some caveats there, but I'm not going to get into that. So you'd have to read the product specifications to verify if it is compatible with other products. But I can tell you that Virpil is. You can take a Thrustmaster grip and put it onto a Virpil base. You can take a Moza grip and put it onto a Virpil base. I also verified that works as well. So keep that in mind. That is one of the nice benefits about the Virpil product line. They're not the only ones who do that, but it is an option. So now with Virpil, again, the quality is off par. Okay, is just way above par, you guys. I can't stress it enough. You would think that a throttle is a throttle is a throttle, a grip is a grip is a grip, a base is a base. It's not. Even going from the WinWing set, which is again a full metal construction, full metal axis on the y-axis, doesn't use the gimbal format, uses independent axis, has tension adjustment capabilities, all that good jazz, just like Virpil does, and yet there is a major difference in between the way that the two feel. So Virpil, you are going to spend the money, and you may have a delay. The other thing is on their throttles, almost all the switches. They have their control panels too, which we're going to be doing a review of later this week. But they have a few toggle switches here and there. The throttle has, I think, 4, and they're plastic red switches. I would have liked to have seen those metal, but that's when we're talking about all the features list that they have. The other nice thing about the CM3 throttles is that they have a mode selector where you can go, just like, who was it who did that? Logitech did that. You have the ability to, it's set to mode 1, all of your buttons do one thing. Turn it to mode 2, all of your buttons can do something completely different. Okay, and there are 5 of them. So that is a nice thing about that as well, is you can map just about anything as long as you can remember what mode you're in and what things are set to set it as everything you want. You can really map an entire cockpit using that particular configuration. So it is really handy. And it limits your need for further it limits the need, not want, for further controls, buttons, switches, etc. Right? And again, that is another advantage to them having only momentary switches on their controls, is that when you change modes, you don't have to worry about what position those switches are in. So it makes sense that they went momentary. I think if they didn't have that mode switch, they probably would have gone toggle. But anyway, I digress. You guys can tell I'm real big into toggle switches. I don't know why. I'm telling you, I sit there sometimes on phone calls and just click, 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 click. I'm not well in the head. Anyway, so Virpil, you are going to get superior build quality. You're going to get superior comfort. You're going to get superior customization options, and it's all inclusive. It comes in the box. Now, something I've heard lately is that people are saying that they are no longer bringing the tools or sending the tools that you need to do it. If you have a metric Allen wrench set, you're good. That's it. I mean, that's all you need. Even a metric Allen wrench set, anywhere from about 2.5 up to 6 at the highest, and I don't even think they go that high. I think the highest on the Virpil controls that I've seen is a 4 millimeter. But so if anything above that, you're fine. So as long as you have that, you're set. You can go to Ace Hardware or even for Harbor Freight, pick up a $4 set of Allen keys, and you'll be fine. And then a crescent wrench at the worst, you know. So it's, to me, that's not a huge deal. Everything else comes with it. You don't have to worry about maintenance on them. You don't have to worry about, you know, re-greasing springs, things like that. Usually once you set it, you're probably pretty happy with it. I haven't touched mine since the initial review. I love it. I love its current setup. The other nice thing about Virpil, and you guys are going to see sort of a competitor at a much cheaper price for just the flight stick. I'm going to show you guys in just a minute. But Virpil, you can also adjust the tension directly from the top of the controls. So you don't have to worry about going up underneath them, with the exception of the throttle. The throttle's axis themselves are adjusted from underneath, so that is kind of a pain in the ass. I would have liked to have seen some sort of tension that WinWing has, for example. WinWing on their Orion 2, you can adjust the tension directly from the top of the throttle. Virpil, you have to actually undo the base, the entire bottom of it, and take a wrench and tighten them up the way you want. So I would have liked to have seen that adjusted. The other really cool thing about Virpil and WinWing, by the way, is that you have multiple detent configurations that you can swap in and out that, again, come with the unit. So that is a nice feature as well. So if you want, for example, idle cutoff positions, or, you know, afterburners up front, whatever it may be. But anyway, that's going to wrap it up for Virpil. Again, far more expensive. By far, I think they're the most expensive on this list. And then, but you also get a ton of features, ton of customizations, customization options, unparalleled quality, in my opinion. And, you know, they're just worth the price to me. They really are. If mine were to die today, I would absolutely turn around and buy another one. Even having all of this, I would turn around and I would buy another one. I like them that much. Okay. Next up on the list here, we probably have one that not many of you guys have heard of. I've done a review of their products here on my channel before, and that is FC Technologies. Here's the thing I'm going to tell you guys right out of the gate. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. Their products look very much like Virpil. The base built very much so the same way the CM3 is. The customization options are not quite as significant. I do find that the tension already, I'm constantly having to adjust the tension. I have never gotten the base quite right. It is good. It is comfortable. I have no problem using it. I've used it a lot of times when I fly from the desk instead of the cockpit, but I've never been able to get it quite right. And that is a sour point for me. So I'm going to give you guys the heads up on that. But as you guys can see, just the price of the base is significantly cheaper. Okay, much, much cheaper. And then now I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the flight stick as well. And I'm willing to bet, for those of you especially who know Virpil, look up the Alpha Prime and wait. So you guys probably already saw the shadow picture on the previous image, but here is their grip. Now the grip is very nice. I love it. It feels extremely comfortable. It's well built. I haven't had any issues with it whatsoever. I have used the hell out of it when I fly from the desk. I have the left hand and right hand grip also for space simulation. I will say that if you're interested in space simulation, if you're interested in something like Star Citizen, or even you guys know what I'm thinking of. It's on the tip of my tongue. I can't think of the combat one, but I can't remember the name of it now. But I'm sure somebody will put it in the comments. But if you're interested in space simulation where you have the two sticks, this is a great option that is significantly cheaper. I'm not going to dispute that part. They are significantly cheaper. I have had the base and grips for both of them for over a year now. I also use it in farm simulation, by the way. They have both the twist grip axis. Both of them have the twist grip, as well as you can lock that twist down if you have rudder pedals of your own or some other means that you want to use that with. So they are very, very good quality. I haven't had any issues with them whatsoever, other than, like I said, on the base. And it's not bad. I don't know how to describe it. It's just I can't. With my Virpil CM3 base, I was able to just get it comfy where I like it. It feels good. I don't have any issues with, like I told you before, I haven't had to touch it in over a year. This one, I don't know how to describe it. It just never feels quite right. Okay. I always feel like it's just either too tight or too loose. I can't ever find that right spot. Okay. So that could just be me. You know, the price is certainly right. The price is certainly in a good spot. They have two different grip options, by the way, you guys. They have the one that you're seeing there, and here it is. Give me a second. I want you guys to see it. I don't feel like digging through the website. What fun is that when I have it right here where you guys can see it? They have the Alpha Prime, and then they have this guy right here. Okay, so is that right? Is that good? You guys got that? Okay, you guys can see a couple different buttons on there. I haven't done a review of this particular grip just yet. It is cool. Feels a little weird, but has lift gates, things like that. This is very much so, to me, more spacey than Air Combat. But again, it feels very nice. Good weight, good comfort. The grip on it is really nice. So something to think about. Watch for the review on this one, guys. I will be doing that later on, probably next week. Unfortunately, it'll probably be after Christmas. Okay, so again, an advantage here, guys, is that I've used every product that I'm showing you guys. I have used, and I have used extensively. So that is FC Technologies, a much cheaper option. I have not had enough exposure to tell you what their shipping times is and availability is, but I can tell you that, for example, I don't see any out of stock information on their website right now. So something to think about. Hopefully, as more products come down the line, they will be able to expand further. I would like to see them build a throttle so that way they can truly compete in the HOTAS market. Okay. The last HOTAS that I'm going to put on the page here for today is, again, remember what I said. I'm not trying to put anyone down, but it's at the bottom of the list, in my opinion, as far as quality, features, etc. But a nice start if you're on a budget and you want to get into the hobby. And that's what I want everyone to do. I want everyone to be able to find an entry point into the simulation experience if you have an interest in it. So I'm throwing this out there for both Xbox users. By the way, this is the only one that I'm aware of on this list of HOTAS that is compatible with an Xbox. So keep that in mind. But this is the Turtle Beach Velocity Flight Deck. It is a great option, again, if those previous factors are in place. You are extremely limited on money, you're extremely limited on space, or you're looking for the Xbox specifically. Then this is a great solution for that. Now, I am not putting Turtle Beach down at all. They hit their market. I believe this was designed for the true beginner limited option marketplace, and it does do well. One of the things I don't particularly like about it, wasn't crazy about their software when I used it, and I don't just really like the way it all feels. It feels very plasticky. You guys know the word I'm wanting to say. Again, I'm not trying to be insulting at all. Again, they hit their mark for their market. It is a good, very, very entry level piece of equipment. For PC, if you can afford any of the others that I have aforementioned, I would recommend going that route over this by a long shot. Again, for another almost $200, let's call it what it is, and I know it's expensive, that can be a lot, but if you're flying on PC, I really recommend going with WinWing over something like this. I think you're going to be much happier in the end. But if it's not an option, there's this option here. Again, I have it. I own it. I have used it. I used it for 14 days straight before I did my review to make sure I gave the best impression that I could with the product. Now, if you're on Xbox, I believe for a HOTAS, this is your only option, okay? The Honeycomb series does have the availability for the Xbox series of flight controls, but this is the only one that I believe is the only HOTAS. So real short introduction on this one. Again, it feels its price. Okay, that's the best way I'm going to put it. Keep in mind, this is the cheapest unit on the of anything I've displayed here for a full throttle and stick system, and it fits the bottom of the list in comparison to its competitors. And I don't even know that I would put the others as a competitor. They're all in a different market. The only one that I would compare with this, my monitor's over here if you guys can't tell. With this unit, the only thing that I would compare it to is Logitech, and I will never recommend Logitech again. I know every time I say it, there are people come on and say, I've had Logitech for years. It works great. I am really happy for you guys. Genuinely, I'm glad. I'm glad you weren't one of the many who have struggled. But I know, like myself, every Logitech unit I have ever purchased, I've had ghosting issues, electrical issues, stiction issues. I had their three throttle set or 3-axis set. It sent to me, and I remember I unwrapped it. We literally went to sort of look at it and turn it upside down and parts fell out of it. Okay, that's straight out of the box. And I've had 3 different Logitech devices. Never again. I won't even buy their keyboards anymore. I have this one right here, and it's the last time I'm buying a Logitech product. So if I can avoid it. So anyway, that's just their Q&A has, or Q&A, their quality QC, excuse me, their questions and answers. Their QC has really taken a nosedive. Okay, in my personal opinion. So if you are one who has not suffered any of those problems with Logitech, hats off to you. I truly commend you. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad you didn't get the buyer's remorse like I have suffered, and many others. So that's why Logitech is not on the list. Okay. So now that is going to wrap up HOTAS. Very briefly, we're going to talk collectives. I'm not going to showcase anything, but we'll talk collectives for just a moment. All right, so real briefly, the only 2 collective developers that I'm really going to recommend at this point is either WinWing or Virpil. Virpil, in my opinion, if you are in a seated position, have a cockpit position, is the better route to go. I think their quality is quite a bit better. Now, with that being said, the only time I have used a WinWing collective was at Flight Sim Expo, so I want to make that very clear. I also want to make it very clear that WinWing does great products. Their products, there is nothing wrong with them. I have yet to experience any issues with a WinWing product. So keep that in mind. I have very limited access to a WinWing collective. Keep that in mind. Okay, I'm trying to be as honest and forthcoming as I can. The collective mounting options from Virpil can be a bit of a pain in the ass. Now, if you have a standard desk chair, just a standard armrest chair, they do have a armrest or an arm, what do you call it? An armchair mounting kit that you can get with it, or you can do as I did and mount it to your cockpit. I did a custom mount for mine. If you guys haven't seen that, you can go back to my channel, look at my recent cockpit build. I heavily modified my next level racing cockpit. Had it in the garage for almost a month, cutting, welding, name it. So I made my own mounting plate for it. However, the Virpil collectives, again, price. They are expensive. They are very expensive. I will say WinWing is cheaper. They are cheaper, and WinWing has yet to give me any reason to believe that their products aren't good. So with that being said, if you are on the budget side of the fence, go WinWing. If you are wanting the best quality and maximum immersion, go Virpil. Okay. WinWing's going to be cheaper, still very high quality. I know their work. I've had multiple WinWing products. I just haven't had the collective. Yes, I'm stressing that for a reason, guys. If you have a WinWing collective, please comment down below and let people know your thoughts. But I have no reason to believe that it's not a fantastic product. I used it for about 4 minutes at the expo. Okay, so it just wasn't long enough for me to say, yeah, it's fantastic. I can speak to the longevity. I can speak to the longevity. I can speak to the quality. I can speak to the customization. I can speak to the configuration options that come with Virpil. I can't do that with WinWing yet. Hopefully, maybe sometime in the future, I'll get access to some more of their product line, and I'll be able to showcase that. I'll talk to my representative about that. But anyways, so that is just a real brief touch on collectives. Collectives are absolutely worth it if you are a die-hard rotor fan. And that doesn't mean that you're only flying rotors. Okay, it just means that when you fly a helicopter, you want to get the most out of it. You guys can watch a previous video I did about 3 days ago. It's about 3 videos back. It'll probably a card will pop up at some point in this video saying it, but it says the video is titled "Are Collectives Still Worth It?" And the answer is yes. Okay, if you have the mindset you're looking for. Okay, so I recommend watching that video too, as you'll get my pros and cons to it. But the real quick highlight of that video is, for years and years, I flew helicopters using a standard throttle, and when I moved to a collective, the immersion was completely different, and also my flight performance was massively different. And if you are someone who's by chance interested in going for your pilot's license for rotors, definitely get the collective. Okay, so just a real quick touch on them. Again, they're pricey. Be ready. All right, let's move forward with yokes. All right, now getting into the yokes. Obviously, if you can find it, which is why I recommend somewhere like Amazon. I don't recommend going to their site anymore, but if you can find them on Amazon or a reputable dealer, then the Honeycomb, whether it be the Alpha, the Bravo, or both, is the best all-around encompassing unit you can get for the money. There are obviously far more expensive configurations you guys can get, Yoko being one of them, for example, Virtual Fly being another. They are extremely expensive, but very, very high quality. And then something like flightsim.com if you're looking for like force feedback, but again, significantly more money. So keep that in mind, and also a much larger unit. I don't have the yoke any longer, but I used it for quite a long time, and I still have the Bravo throttle quadrant sitting on my desk right now as I'm doing testing for the 777 guide again. But anyways, I digress. They are the all-around best configuration you can get for the money. The yoke has a full 180 degrees of access, fine, easy, smooth travel, even though it uses a band system inside of it. But they all have the nice Hall resolution sensors, or Hall sensors for high resolution activity. The Bravo throttle quadrant has a bunch of different configurations. You can easily swap from commercial to general aviation. You can close up some of the axes that you don't want to use. And there are a bunch of third-party developers that I've reviewed here on the channel that make one-to-one scales or aftermarket add-ons for the Bravo, thus increasing the immersion aim capability of the units depending on what it is. For example, you can get a one-to-one scale of the 777 throttle quadrant 737, the Airbus sets. You guys get the gist. So if you can get it like this one here, over here, on Amazon, then I highly recommend it. If you choose to buy them independently, you will pick them up at $279 a piece. Where in this kit here, this is the better bang for the buck. You save a little bit of money, and they are absolutely worth it. Unfortunately, with all the drama going around with Honeycomb, there's just no guarantee how long or when their products will be available, so I don't recommend going to their website. Last I have heard, there are still customers who pre-purchased the rudder pedals long ago and have yet to receive them. There are still people who have purchased the Honeycomb Bravo from them and still have yet to receive them. The last I heard, this was last month. So there was a lot of drama that happened with Honeycomb. I'm not going to go into all of that, but going directly from them, I don't recommend it. If you're going somewhere from like Aerosoft or any of the other flight simulation distributors that already have it and it says available, that's great. Go that route. Amazon, obviously the best option in my opinion, because it's also going to be the easiest to get a refund if for any reason your order does not get completed. But the nice thing about Amazon is usually it won't offer a sale if the product isn't available. The one thing that does say right now, and this is true with anything right now, is obviously you may get it after Christmas if you're looking for a last minute Christmas purchase. But the Honeycomb products are phenomenal. It was really sad to see all the drama that did happen with it, because they were a very welcomed and very much so needed introduction or addition to the simulation community. The only other competitor at their price point would be Logitech, and I've already expressed how I feel about Logitech. So I don't recommend going that route. For the same price point, basically, Logitech is a little bit cheaper, but it's a lot cheaper in quality. This is definitely the best bang. I definitely recommend the Honeycomb sets. They are absolutely phenomenal. The customization, the configuration options, the easy mounting systems. You have couple different ways that you can mount them. Also, they have a bunch of different mounting points on top of them that allow you to put for things like the Logitech radio panels, or screens and things like that on top. And there are a bunch of different third-party add-ons that have been done, like iPad holders that go on top of it that you can actually mount directly to the top of it using the screws that are already on the devices. So there's been a plethora of add-ons that have been associated with the Honeycomb product line. And the Honeycomb product line, I know that I speak for most of the flight sim community, was received very, very well. I don't know that anyone ever really spoke negatively about them, other than when the drama happened and people stopped getting products that were promised to them. Um, I can't speak on where that's at currently. I just know that as of last month, early November, there were still people being reported who have been waiting over a year for their products. So again, fantastic product, wonderful product, perfectly, beautifully priced. If you can find it on a reputable source that you know has it in stock, such as Amazon here, and I will have a link to all the stuff down in the description below, then this is definitely the route to go if you're looking to get into general aviation or commercial aviation. Fantastic set, absolutely wonderful set. I will also tell you, for DCS users, if you're flying the Warbirds, this is actually a really nice throttle set to have, simply because you have all the different access points that you have inside of a World War II Warbird right there at your fingertips. So just a little tip there. If you guys have never thought of using the Bravo in DCS World, you should. It's awesome. So anyway, that is the Honeycomb set. Very easy to set up, very easy to use. Again, all the configuration feature options. The access points are very nice with action. Has a tension option on the throttle where you can adjust the tension across. Now with the tension adjuster, it obviously adjusts it all the way across the access points, and it also has a very, very nice trim wheel that works very well. So very high rich, or very, very high quality, very feature rich, very customizable, and at the perfect price point, in my opinion, whether you buy them independently or buy them as the pack. If you don't have either one, I recommend the pack totally. Okay, again, if money allows. Again, in the interest of doing due diligence, I'm also going to showcase the Thrustmaster Boeing set. Okay, now this is a replica of a Boeing yoke, sort of. I have, again, used all of these products, guys. I've done a review of everything that you guys are going to see here on the channel that you've seen in this video. There's a review out there from me on my channel somewhere. But with the Boeing set, again, the price point is a bit high for the quality. Again, it always comes back to that with Thrustmaster lately, is unfortunately their price points are so much higher than the quality, in my opinion, supports. The yoke itself is a axis tilt yoke system. So instead of having a push in and out, it actually rotates back and forward as would in a real commercial jet. If you are a diehard Boeing fan and you're someone who just wants to have that real world action, then it is a fantastic setup. In my opinion, again, a bit overpriced, but still a really good setup. Where they lost me on this one was actually with the throttles. And it's going to be the same thing with the next one, the TCA Airbus kit. The throttles, in my opinion, are very poorly done. They have a lot of stiction issues, at least for me, and they just don't feel very smooth. Even with the tension adjustments underneath, I could never get it to where it felt like an actual throttle moving forward. It literally feels like a piece of plastic being pinched when you tighten them up to try to increase the tension. And outside of that, if you loosen it up too much, then it feels like a piece of plastic that's just really loose. It feels plastic. It feels like a toy, is what I didn't like about it. The buttons and switches are very light in the contact, but again, feel very toy. I don't know how else to say it. It just, I guess I was hoping for a lot better from them with these particular sets. Now, so you have this one here. I'm going to go ahead and switch the screen real quick so you guys can see the TCA. And here's the TCA, similar configuration for the Airbus. Okay, price points are rather similar. Now, again, very nice if you are limited on space, if you are looking to just get into the market. And again, with both of these, by the way, both of these, they do work with the Xbox. So that is another plus. If you are an Xbox user, these will work with them. So that is an advantage to them. And that's probably, in my opinion, I think that's the bigger reason for the price point of them, is because they know that they can be used on PC and Xbox. I don't support that methodology, but it's out there for you. So I said earlier with the Velocity one that it was the Velocity one flight deck is the only HOTAS, but these last two are options for the Xbox as well that will work. So you do have that capability, and that is a plus side for them. As again, I was saying, there aren't many others that work with the consoles. Okay, so take that into consideration. The last thing I want to mention here, you guys, real quick, is also remember, if you're looking for that higher price budget in the yoke system, do not forget Virpil's Kickstarter program for their yoke system was successful. They did hit their goal, and actually quite a bit above it. Thank you guys to all of you who supported that endeavor. It's important to me because, again, I truly stand by Virpil products. They're the best in the biz, in my opinion, at the price point that they are at. Obviously, you go higher in price point, yeah, you're going to get far higher quality too. But for their price point, for their market, they are the best in the biz. But don't forget, it is in development. It was successful. They are going to be making them. They are going into production. Okay, so please keep that in mind. We're supposed to, I believe it's the mid of next year is when we should probably start seeing some of the early release models. Obviously, all of that is subject to change, all based on development times, hardware availability, things like that, testing, modifications, etc., to that testing feedback. So, but I just want to make sure that as you guys are looking at all of this, especially with the yokes, that you remember Virpil is now entering that arena. You just have to wait a while, okay? And then I would imagine when they release, you're going to wait a little bit longer. But again, think proactively. I wanted to toss that out there for you guys in case you wanted to wait and hold on to, like I was saying earlier, a HOTAS does it all. It will still work perfectly fine. So if you wanted to wait for a Virpil yoke, that is an option as well too. So I wanted to make sure to remind you guys that that was out there. It is fact. They are being developed. The Kickstarter was successful. Okay. So with that in mind, you guys, I hope that you have found this video to be useful and helpful. I hope it gave you an idea on the battle of the flight controls. This is for the HOTAS yoke and collective market. If you guys are interested in seeing more videos like this, for example, rudder pedals or any of the third-party peripherals, please let me know down in the description below, also, or in the comments below. Don't forget to join the Discord, guys. If you guys have Discord, a Discord link is down in every single one of my videos. Join the Discord, come and chat with us. You guys can reach out to me. It's probably the easiest way to get to me direct if you want to chat. Sometimes it takes me a few hours to respond to you, but 9 times out of 10, I respond. For example, this video was made based on the request I got from a viewer who reached out to me yesterday asking this very question. He's looking at getting a HOTAS and wanted to know which one I thought would be the best bang. So there you go.